Goguryeo or Goryeo was one of the ancient three kingdoms of Korea, located in the northern and central parts of the Korean Peninsula and the southern and central parts of Inner and Outer Manchuria. Goguryeo was an active participant in the past struggle for control of the Korean Peninsula and was also associated with the foreign affairs of neighboring polities in China and Japan. The Samguk Sagi, a 12th-century text from Goryeo, indicates that Goguryeo was founded in 37 BCE by Jumong, a prince from the Buyeo kingdom, who was enthroned as Dongmyeong of Goguryeo. There is archaeological and textual evidence from Chinese geographic monographs that suggests that Goguryeo may have been in existence since the 2nd century BCE, around the fall of Gojoseon, an earlier kingdom which also occupied southern Manchuria and the northern Korean peninsula. Goguryeo was a powerful empire and one of the great powers in East Asia until it was defeated by a Silla-Tang-China alliance in 668. After its fall, its territory was divided among the states of later Silla, Bali and Tang China. Goryeo, a shortened name for Goguryeo, was adopted by King Jiangsu, who ruled the nation from 413 to 491. This later name is the origin of the English word Korea. According to the 12th century Samguk Sagi and the 13th century Samgung Yeusa, a prince from the Buyeo kingdom named Jumong fled after a power struggle with other princes of the court, and he founded Goguryeo in 37 BCE in a region called Buyeo, usually thought to be located in the middle Yalu and Tongjia River basin, overlapping the current China-North Korea border. In the geographic monographs of the Book of Han, the word Goguryeo was first mentioned in 113 BCE as a region under the jurisdiction of the Shantou Commandery, page 33 in the Old Book of Tang. It is recorded that Emperor Taizong of Tang refers to Goguryeo history as being some 900 years old. In 75 BCE, a group of Yemak who may have originated from Goguryeo made an incursion into China's Shantou Commandery west of the Yalu. However, the weight of textual evidence from the Old Book of Tang, New Book of Tang, the Samguk Sagi, the Nippon Shoki as well as other ancient sources would support a 37 BCE or middle 1st century BCE foundation date for Goguryeo. Archaeological evidence would support centralized groups of Yemak tribes in the 2nd century BC, but there is no direct evidence that would suggest these Yemak groups were known as or would identify themselves as Goguryeo. The first mention of Goguryeo as a group label associated with Yemak tribes is a reference in the Han Shoot that discusses a Goguryeo revolt in 12 CE, during which they broke away from the influence of the Chinese at Shantou. At its founding, the Goguryeo people are believed to be a blend of people from Buyeo and Yemak, as leadership from Buyeo may have fled the kingdom and integrated with existing Yemak chiefdoms. The records of the three kingdoms, in the section titled Accounts of the Eastern Barbarians, implied that Buyeo and the Yemak people were ethnically related and spoke a similar language. Jumong and the foundation myth. The earliest mention of Jumong is in the 4th century Gwanggaeto stele. Jumong is the modern Korean transcription of the Hanja Jumong, Chumo, or Yungmo. The stele states that Jumong was the first king and ancestor of Goguryeo and that he was the son of the prince of Buyeo and daughter of the river deity Habak. The Samguk Sagi and Samgung Yeusa paint additional detail and names Jumong's mother as Yawa. Jumong's biological father was said to be a man named Himosu of Buyeo, who is described as a strong man and a heavenly prince. The river god chased Hyoa away to the Ubal River due to her pregnancy, where she met and became the concubine of Jumong of Dongmyeong. Jumong was well known for his exceptional archery skills. Eventually, Jumong's sons became jealous of him, and Jumong was forced to leave eastern Buyeo. The Stele and later Korean sources disagree as to which Buyeo Jumong came from. The Stele says he came from the Buyeo kingdom, and the Samguk and Samguk Sagi say he came from eastern Buyeo. Jumong eventually made it to Jeolbon, where he married Soseono, daughter of its ruler. He subsequently became king himself, founding Goguryeo with a small group of his followers from his native country. A traditional account from the Annals of Buyeo section in the Samguk Sagi says that Soseono was the daughter of Untitled, a wealthy influential figure in Jeolbon, and married to Jumong. However, the same source officially states that the king of Jeolbon gave his daughter to Jumong, who had escaped with his followers from eastern Buyeo in marriage. She gave her husband, Jumong, financial support in founding the new statelet, Goguryeo. After Uri of Goguryeo, son of Jumong, and his first wife, Lady Yi, came from Dongmyeong and succeeded Jumong, she left Goguryeo, taking her two sons Buyeo and Onjo of Buyeo south to found their own kingdoms, one of which was Buyeo. Jumong's given surname was He, the name of the Buyeo rulers. According to the Samguk, Jumong changed his surname to Go, in conscious reflection of his divine parentage. Jumong is recorded to have conquered the tribal states of Buyeo in 36 BCE, Hangin in 33 BCE, and North Goryeo in 28 BCE. Centralization and early expansion. Goguryeo developed from a league of various Yamak tribes to an early state and rapidly expanded its power from their original basin of control in the Han River drainage. In the time of King Taiji of Goguryeo in 53 CE, 5 local tribes were reorganized into 5 centrally ruled districts. Foreign relations and the military were controlled by the king. Early expansion might be best explained by ecology. Goguryeo controlled territory in what is currently central and southern Manchuria and northern Korea, which are both very mountainous and lacking in arable land. Upon centralizing, Goguryeo might have been unable to harness enough resources from the region to feed its population, and thus, following historical pastoralist tendencies, would have sought to raid and exploit neighboring societies for the land and resources. Aggressive military activities may have also aided expansion, allowing Goguryeo to exact tribute from the tribal neighbors and dominate them politically and economically. Goryeo conquered the Goryeo tribes of what is now northeastern Korea, as well as the Dongmyeong and other tribes in southeastern Manchuria and northern Korea. From the increase of resources and manpower that these subjugated tribes gave him, Taiji led Goguryeo in attacking the Han commanderies of Leling and Shantou in the Korean and Liaodong peninsulas, becoming fully independent from them. Generally, Taiji allowed the conquered tribes to retain the chieftains, but required them to report to governors who were related to Goguryeu's royal line. Tribes under Goguryeu's jurisdiction were expected to provide heavy tribute. Taiji and his successors channeled these increased resources to continuing Goguryeu's expansion to the north and west. New laws regulated peasants and the aristocracy, as tribal leaders continued to be absorbed into the central aristocracy. Royal succession changed from fraternal to patrilineal, stabilizing the royal court. The expanding Goguryeo kingdom soon entered into direct military contact with the Liaodong commandery to its west. Pressure from Liaodong forced Goguryeo to move the capital in the Han River Valley to the Yalu River Valley near Wondu Mountain City. Goguryeo Wars. In the chaos following the fall of the Han dynasty, the former Han commanderies had broken free of control and were ruled by various independent warlords. Surrounded by these commanderies, who were governed by aggressive warlords, Goguryeo moved to improve relations with the newly created dynasty of Kaowei in China and sent tribute in 220. In 238, Goguryeo entered into a formal alliance with Wei to destroy the Liaodong commandery. When Liaodong was finally conquered by Wei, cooperation between Wei and Goguryeo fell apart and Goguryeo attacked the western edges of Liaodong, which incited a Wei counterattack in 244. Thus, Goguryeo initiated the Goguryeo Wars in 242, trying to cut off Chinese access to its territories in Korea by attempting to take a Chinese fort. However, the Wei state responded by invading and defeated Goguryeo. The capital at Wando was destroyed by Wei forces in 244. It is said that the Dongmyeong of Goguryeo, with his army destroyed, fled for a while to the Goryeo in the east. Revival and further expansion. The Wei armies thought they had destroyed Goguryeo and soon left the area. However, in only 70 years, Goguryeo rebuilt their capital Wando mountain fortress and again began to raid the Liaodong, Leling and Shantou commanderies. As Goguryeo extended its reach into the Liaodong Peninsula, the last Chinese commandery at Leling was conquered and absorbed by Mission of Goguryeo in 313, bringing the northern part of the Korean Peninsula into the fold. This conquest resulted in the end of Chinese rule over territory in the northern Korean Peninsula, which had spanned 400 years. For that point on, until the 7th century, territorial control of the peninsula would be contested primarily by the three kingdoms of Korea. The expansion met temporary setbacks during the winter of 342, when the Abe of former Yan, ruled by the Murong clan, attacked and destroyed Goguryeo capital, Wando, capturing 50,000 Goguryeo men and women to use as slave labor in addition to taking the Queen Dowager and Queen prisoner, and forced King Goguryeo to flee for a while. Buyeo was also destroyed by the Abe in 346. The Korean peninsula also became subject to Buyeo migration from people fleeing the Abe. In 371, King Jeonjogo of Baekje sacked one of Goguryeo largest cities, Pyongyang, and killed King Goguryeo of Goguryeo in the Battle of Chiyang. Turning to domestic stability and the unification of various conquered tribes, Soshuram of Goguryeo proclaimed new laws, embraced Buddhism as the state religion in 372, and established a national educational institute called the Tai. Due to the defeats that Goguryeo had suffered at the hands of former Yan and Baekje, Soshuram also instituted military reforms aimed at preventing such defeats in the future. Zenith of Goguryeo power. Goguryeo experienced a golden age under Gwangato the Great and his son Jiangsu. During this period, Goguryeo territories included 3/4 of the Korean Peninsula, including what is now Seoul, almost all of Manchuria, parts of Inner Mongolia and parts of Russia. Gwangato the Great was a highly energetic monarch who was remembered for his rapid military expansion of the realm. He instituted the reign name of Yongnak, thus signifying his belief that he was on an equal footing with the major Chinese dynasties. Gwangato is said to have conquered 64 walled cities and 1,400 villages during his campaigns. To the west, he destroyed neighboring Khitan tribes and later Yan and conquering the entire Liaodong Peninsula to the north and east. He annexed much of Buyeo and conquered the Sushan, who were Tungusic ancestors of the Jurchens and Manchus, and to the south, he subjugated Baekje, contributed to the dissolution of Gaya, and vassalized Silla through the Goguryeo-Yamato War. Gwanggaeto brought about a loose unification of the Korean Peninsula that lasted about 50 years. By the end of his reign, Goguryeo had achieved undisputed control of most of Manchuria and the northern and central regions of the Korean Peninsula. Gwanggaeto's exploits were recorded on a huge memorial stele erected by his son Jiangsu, located in present-day Jian on the border between China and North Korea. Jiangsu ascended to the throne in 413 and moved the capital to Pyongyang in 427, which is evidence of the intensifying rivalries between Goguryeo and the other two peninsular kingdoms of Baekje and Silla to its south. Jiangsu, like his father, continued Goguryeo territorial expansion into Manchuria and reached the eastern Songhua River. He attacked the Diduyu, located in eastern Mongolia, together with the Rouran. He attacked Baekje and Silla and gained large amounts of territory from both. In addition, Jiangsu's long reign saw the perfecting of Goguryeo political, economic and other institutional arrangements. Jiangsu ruled Goguryeo for 79 years until the age of 98, the longest reign in East Asian history. Jiangsu changed the official name of Goguryeo to Goryeo, but the name Goguryeo was still often used. During the reign of Manchuria-Goguryeo completely annexed Buyeo, signifying Goguryeo's furthest ever expansion north, while continuing its strong influence over the kingdoms of Silla and Baekje, and the tribes of Mohe and Khitan. Internal strife. Goguryeo reached its zenith in the 6th century. After this, however, it began a steady decline. Anjang was assassinated, and succeeded by his brother Anwon, during whose reign aristocratic factionalism increased. A political schism deepened as two factions advocated different princes for succession, until the 8-year-old Yangwon was finally crowned. But the power struggle was never resolved definitively, as renegade magistrates with private armies appointed themselves de facto rulers of their areas of control. Taking advantage of Goguryeo's internal struggle, a nomadic group called the Touchway attacked Goguryeo's northern castles in the 550s and conquered some of Goguryeo's northern lands, weakening Goguryeo even more, as civil war continued among feudal lords over royal succession. Baekje and Silla allied to attack Goguryeo from the south in 551.